Good morning, everyone. And a warm welcome to India's biggest, futuristic and vibrant festival, the Summit of Future 2025. Thank you. Proudly hosted by Jain University, this mega summit, which has under its umbrella 7 theme-based summits, is doing something that's never been done before. It's not just giving us a glimpse into the future, but it is engaging us such that it will open new pathways into the future. So are you ready for that? Are you ready for the future? Yes. I am Ardra Balachandran. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies for all 7 days starting today at this venue, which is our first venue, Venue 1. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 7 summits under the Summit of Future 2025 umbrella. And today we are kickstarting the Future Education Summit here. Our vision is to transform education systems through innovative practices and technologies, and we have gathered education leaders who are focused on exactly doing that. They're all sitting here right in the front rows. So there is no further ado, we are getting started. But before I introduce the first knowledge session and the speakers who are going to come on stage to speak to us, it's my pleasure to bring on stage our guest of honor for this day, Day 1 at Summit of Future 2025, Ms. Shalini Medapalli. Welcome on stage, ma'am. She's the Deputy Head of Mission with the British Deputy High Commission, Chennai. It's such a pleasure and privilege to have you on stage, ma'am, and we'd like you to kickstart this day with a few words.
Thank you so much. What a great introduction. I hope that got you all awake on a Sunday morning. Good morning, everyone. I'll try again. That was less than enthusiastic. Hopefully the energy will pick up soon. I'm really, really delighted to be here in such a beautiful, lush campus with such esteemed guests, so thank you for having me. A huge congratulations to Jain University for hosting such an important summit, and the UK's International Skill Development Corporation, who are key to this event. So I'm really passionate about education, and apologies to those of you who were here yesterday, because you'll hear this anecdote for the second time. But when I was a child in my education system in the UK, we learnt about Kerala as a place of best practice. With your literacy rates being so high, with your female empowerment, I knew that this is somewhere that I wanted to be. So I'm really, really happy to be here celebrating education nonetheless. So the UK and India have a long history of being partners in the education sector, and it's absolutely growing. I'm based in Chennai at the British Deputy High Commission, Chennai, and I see a UK university around once a fortnight, so we have lots and lots of interest. The UK education system is very strong, so 4 of the world's top 10 universities reside there. This is something to consider when you're thinking about careers. The UK is a really great place to study. Universities are also doing more research than ever with partner institutions. A good example of this that I work on is the UK government funds something we call catapults. They come here and they partner with Indian universities to produce high-value innovation and also professional institutional knowledge. That seems to be what you're also doing here at Summit to the Future, so I'm very impressed. Indian students form such an important segment of international students studying in the UK. And I really encourage you to think about education in the UK. So I think a lot of you are students. I'm again going to see how engaged you are. How many of you have been to the UK? I'm going to put my hand up. I've been to the UK. A couple of you have been to the UK. How many of you are interested in going, be that for study or just for a holiday? I'll put my hand up again. Amazing. That's so encouraging. I really look forward to having you. Let me tell you a few of the options you can take to get to the UK, either professionally or as a student. So do engage with the British Council, who can help more. The UK also has a government scholarship scheme called Chevening Scholarships. It's been running in India for around 40 years and has brought over 50,000 future leaders from 130 countries to the UK. There's around 65 Indian scholars that we have go every year to the UK, and these are the bright and the best of India. We also have executive programs for the professionals in the room. These are short-term and are definitely perfect for people like academics. This year, we also have a scholarship scheme called the Great Scholarship Program. And every year, we run the Young Professional Scheme. And this is for 18 to 35-year-olds, Indians. And there are around 3,000 visas that we offer. So these are just a starting point. You can get to UK in many different ways. And I mean, education here itself is so brilliant. So study hard, work hard, use the summit as a place to garner knowledge, exchange knowledge, and network. I wish I could stay longer, but all the best to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shalini. Those were exactly the words that we needed to listen to kickstart this day one at the Summit of Future 2025. And as our guest of honor, she will now be commencing the proceedings on stage with an auspicious ceremony, which is the lighting of the lamp. And we request the speakers of the first session on this stage to join her, our guest of honor, on stage, starting with Dr. Vandana Kalia. Yes. She's a scientist F with Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, being joined by Mr. Deenu Khan. He's a machine learning engineer at Accenture. Welcome. Mr. Tapish M. Bhatt. He's the head of Asia-Pacific Partnerships at Coursera. Welcome, sir. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Sharma. He's the senior group leader of research and development of chocolates. Welcome, sir. And finally, Professor Raj Singh, Vice Chancellor of Jain University. Hearty welcome, sir. And the moderator of our first session on stage, Dr. Shradha Kanwar. She's the Chief Academic Officer of Jain University. Ladies and gentlemen, we request you to step up and do the auspicious beginning on stage as we kickstart our day one, our Future Education Summit at the Summit of Future 2025. All great beginnings move towards light, from darkness to light, as we know. And as we light this lamp on day one at the Summit of Future 2025, we hope this is going to be a long-standing tradition that goes well into the future, crafting the future for generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, that marks the beginning of the Future Education Summit, day one, track one at the Summit of Future 2025. Please be seated. We express our profound gratitude to Ms. Shalini Medapalli for joining us this morning and starting the day with such motivating, inspiring words. I'm sure a lot of you did want to hear what are the pathways to get to the UK. It is definitely a dreamland for a lot of us. So she spoke just about that. Thank you once again. Thank you for joining us. That's great. All our speakers are seated and set. So we speak a lot about artificial intelligence these days, but then, how do we integrate all of that into classrooms? We have to go beyond the Blackboard. And of course, we have to do that by developing adaptive learning platforms, personalized education pathways. There's a lot of work to be done. And that is all of the themes that these celebrated, acclaimed speakers are going to dive into, and this session is going to be moderated by none other than our own family member, Dr. Shradha Kanwar, who's the moderator, Chief Academic Officer of Jain University. I now hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. A very good morning, everybody. Beyond the Blackboard is a beautiful concept, but before we delve deeper into Beyond the Blackboard, I just wanted to begin this because today is India's Republic Day, and we are all celebrating a very beautiful moment in our history. And our nation that is an exemplar of the most profound educational philosophy, the most liberal educational ethos, the most extraordinary collective intelligence, and today we are defining the most important thing, an exceptional future together. So in this amazing summit, I would like to welcome everybody, especially our esteemed panelists. And as we unfold the various contours of this future, which is in this panel discussion on Beyond the Blackboard, my request is that we look at the philosophy, but we also look at the strategic doing of what Beyond the Blackboard implies. So the entire spectrum of education, as all of you know, is being disrupted in multiple ways. We are looking at designing a new algorithm. So many things are changing. And the students who are sitting here, they'll completely agree that it's very exciting. It's a lot of fun. It's very bewildering. It's very mystifying. And in education, when we look at the future, it's also related to the future professionals. What we are doing today in the classrooms also has to extend to what happens outside of the classrooms. So let us begin. A very warm welcome and thank you so much for joining us. Let me start with Dr. Singh, sir. If the metaphor of the Blackboard was representing education of the past, what do you think represents the education of the future?
Thank you and good morning, everyone. My distinguished co-panelist, happy Republic Day to everyone. I agree that Blackboard is something which represented the old one or represented the time we studied or we were the students. And it's changing and changing for the good. I always like to talk within the concept of framework. So the framework which we're operating in today, which has to large extent changed this or made this shift, is that we are no more outcome oriented. When you need to attain certain outcomes, you need to look at ways and means of expanding those opportunities, and those requirements also made us to change different spaces. So for example, one of the space away from the classroom is field-based kind of learning, problem-based learning, project-based learning, whatever name we want to give it. The second type of space which has evolved is virtual space. And that has really impacted the old paradigm of learning. It's doing a lot of good because if you look at online space or the virtual space, it is in a way filling those expertise gap which we had. Today you can access expertise of anywhere, from anyone, anytime you want. So this anywhere, anytime, anything, from any device philosophy has also moved us away from the Blackboard, because once you're moving away from the classroom, we're moving away from the Blackboard. If I look at the Blackboard, you need a classroom setting kind of things. Even though before that the black color had changed to green and white also. The boards were there, but colors had changed. So I think this need to attain those outcomes, particularly at higher levels, we are made to shift outside the classroom. It doesn't happen in the classroom itself. So this paradigm is something which is for the good of education. Yeah.
Interesting, sir. So you mentioned about experiencing outside, yes. And I also understood that you used the word digital in a less pronounced way, yeah. Because that's a very natural thing to say. But having said that, and Deenu, this is for you. We talk about machine learning. You're a specialist in that field. We talk about AI agents coming into the classroom. How soon is that happening? And what do you think about the implications of that?
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. So if we talk about the AI agents, these are already here, actually. And if we talk about how these are going to help students and universities, we don't have to do much of the work. AI agents will be doing all of the work. For example, if we want to curate the whole subject and how students will be learning these subjects in a curriculum way, so we just have to tell these agents, okay, this is the subject, and we want to learn this, or we want to teach this. So it will tell you the best way possible how this will be benefited to the students and the teacher as well.
Interesting. So we talking about agentic transformation, you said it will be handed over to the student, and that also brings me, Dr. Vandana, to a question on the future of work, the gig economy, the connection of what we are doing beyond the blackboard in the environment of an education, leading it to, the future of work. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, first of all, thanks to Jain University for inviting me over, and I'm very pleased to be part of this Future Summit, because I believe all the themes are very relevant to what the government of India, or I'm sure government of Kerala is also thinking. All the states and central governments are thinking. That's Viksit Bharat. And when we talk about Viksit Bharat 2047, education plays a pivotal role, because we are the youngest country in the world. So a country where we have so many students. And what I believe that when we talk about technology and education, then technology should lead to an education which makes student, skill. The deficit in skill and the job, that should be overcome by the technology that is coming up. When we're talking about AI or virtual reality or AR and VR, what we expect is that those should address the problems of the industry, because they always complain that they don't get skill-ready, well-trained students. So I believe that with the technology, we should try to bridge that gap, see if we can develop some kind of a simulation labs or innovation labs where the students can have the feel of the industry environment. They can understand the industry environment while being in the labs. They can they can see the complex operations of an industry, and they can have the real experience of how industry should work. I believe all the edtech companies and even companies like yours, which are working on the software system, should work on those kind of a simulation models and innovation or a prototype labs. So that is what I believe.
Yeah, so you're essentially saying how do we augment the experience, and how do we therefore reduce the deficit between what industry?
Experiential learning.
Interesting, yeah. There was this World Economic Forum discussion that was happening recently, in which they said that this is the last league of CEOs who are going to have a human workforce, because it's going to be replaced with, again, there's so much of speculation of the future of jobs. Tapish, from Coursera, we talk about continuous learning being a very important focus area in India. We're talking about improving the gross enrollment ratio. We're talking about improving our workforce, the demographic dividend which comes through continuous learning. Would you like to highlight something on this particular aspect of the future that is learning-centric?
Okay. So Coursera was started by two academics, right? And always our mission has been that the best quality learning should be available to anybody, anywhere, without any barriers, right? So that's the motto that we've been going after with for the last 12 odd years. What we've been able to do in these last 12 years is bring the best of the world's teaching to anybody and everybody. We were talking about blackboards. I believe that the new blackboard is your screen, right? On your screen, any student has access to any of the world's top universities. Shalini talked about best of the UK universities. Some of the best of the UK universities, including Oxford, including University of London, have courses on Coursera. So if you want to just experience how a University of Oxford teaches or a University of London teaches, you can probably just go to Coursera and do those courses. Now with that, what we've also done in the last 4 years is we realized that a lot of Indian universities have that kind of a global caliber. So we started partnering with Indian universities with the aim of taking them global. So we partnered with some of the top institutes like IIM Ahmedabad, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, BITS Pilani, IIT Guwahati. And now you will find courses from these universities that any student in India or abroad can take. I'll just give you a couple of statistics. So IIM Ahmedabad launched a couple of small 10-hour courses on Coursera that have about 300,000 plus learners around the world right now in 199 countries. So anybody around the world can get access to Indian learning, right? We have 2 bachelor degree programs. One is a bachelor degree program in computer science from BITS Pilani. One is a bachelor degree in data science and AI from IIT Guwahati. This is meant for students who want to study these topics, but probably because of their JEE ranks, because of their circumstances in life, could not get to an institute like that. So that you can access that level of learning, that level of teaching by being in your home. I can give you one small statistic here. 35% of the students enrolled in these 2 bachelor degree programs are also doing another bachelor's on campus. So you might be in your home state, in your home city, you might be doing another bachelor program, you might be doing a BTech, but you want to do computer science, you can in parallel enroll into either of these 2 programs and get that quality of teaching and get that quality of career outcome.
Absolutely. I think somewhere in the last 10 years, the Oxbridge model of going to an elite institute is getting kind of annihilated. We are looking at learning at our doorstep, and since we also have a partnership with Coursera, we know the advantages our students are leveraging in terms of having extraordinary certificates, upskilling, cross-skilling. In fact, Jain University has the highest number of course building, courses, which globally, that's what we were told as far as the statistics are concerned. So a lot of appreciation for these efforts. I have one question on the digital divide, which we'll come back to after some time. But let me go to Sanjeev. Sanjeev, we started with the metaphor of the blackboard, and Dr. Raj Singh mentioned that it talks about the past, and somewhere the past was a little struggle. At the same time, I think all of us would recognize that there are certain beautiful traditional practices which are also so important to retain in academia, to kind of strengthen and kind of reapprehend. Your thoughts on that?
Again, thanks everyone for this opportunity. I'd like to just slightly change the word which you said. In the past, whatever was our traditional method of teaching, at that time it was valid. There was no issue with that. But in the current context, it needs changes. It's not about the methodology, it's about the outcome we are looking from that education. Earlier, when the system was made by Maculum, objective was something else. That's why the curriculum, the topics, the methodology was as per that. Memorization was given a more importance because we wanted to have those physically done work lots of time. That's why those kind of mindset, intellect, knowledge was important. But in the current context, which is changing every day, the environment is changing, the requirement is changing. That's why we have to rethink on the method of education or imparting education. But still on the foundation which has been made in the past. While memorization is not that much important, where information we can access in a second, but the discipline and the structure is still required. While I'm from corporate world, we always talk about flexibility. Flexibility is in terms of your work, when you want to study, wherever you want to study, but discipline of study needs to be there. Tapish mentioned that now the Blackboard has become the screen. We should utilize that flexibility. I don't want to study only that from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, that is my school time. I want to study, I'm a night person, I want to study at night. That flexibility can be done from the screen-based Blackboard, but discipline to study every day, it's required.
Very nice. I think two important takeaways from the current discussions, deliberations we've had, I think one is the timing and the contextualization of anything future is also related to the ecosystem, because education is the microcosm of what happens outside. So if there's a societal change, there's a geopolitical change, there is a digital landscape that is prevailing, it will have its implications. But when we said, can we reapprehend some of our traditional practices, it probably means about things like discipline. So discipline doesn't change in any lifespan, in any paradigm. Ability to be disciplined, have a certain focus towards certain things. And this is for all our wonderful students also who are seated here, that sometimes we feel that, oh, we don't have to memorize, but that's okay. But you have to still be disciplined to, give that due time to gaining new knowledge or acquiring new skills, right? So let's continue this discussion with Dr. Raj Singh. So there is a constant fight, or if it's not a fight, it's a very tacit kind of a friction between cerebral intelligence and computing power. So, we do celebrate that computing intelligence, and we call it alien intelligence, we call it lots of names, but I think we all understand what it is all about. What is happening to our human qualities, human thinking, and is that also important when we talk about education future?
Let me build a framework again. When I say about digital or technology in education, it needs to be understood not only information technology. It also involves a lot of systems and processes that also comes under the definition of technology. In fact, if you look at when we moved from engineering to technology, we didn't understand what this transition meant. Because technology is also inclusive of systems and processes. And when you develop systems and processes, a lot of things which are innate in human beings do not change, they remain. Only, as was pointed out, the mode of delivery may change. The second concept is that all the repetitive work, mundane work, cannot be relegated to technology and the digital kind of education process. But I think more important today would be the way in the change environment complexities are increasing. If I start counting, if I can remember all of them, post-2020, we have academic bank of credit, we have multiple entry system, we have accelerated and extended degree possibility, we have possibility of pursuing 2 degrees simultaneously, additional certification simultaneously, and now it is forcing us to go for examination evaluation reforms. How do you manage this complexity? And the other thing which is coming, that assessment examinations particularly are no more an offline activity, that somebody like an audit who comes from outside and gives you that, put a label on the student. I think it's becoming a partner in delivery of education. So analytics-based or data-based decision-making is also forcing us to look at those technology tools which we have available with us. It should be seen in that context. And this complexity handling is, according to me, the most overwhelming kind of task at our hand. Whether technology can really help us. If you look at the products available in market, we've been some of us have evaluated, some are evaluating, some of them are struggling to use them. They're basically products developed with an industry focus, and they're being adopted as it is in the education sector, which somehow is at conflict with what we need and what they have to provide. So a lot of customization has to take place there also.
Very interesting, sir. So on one hand, the industry is unhappy with, as skills coming from academics.
So they have right not to be happy with us, but you also have right not to be happy with them. Yeah. So I think it's a question of sitting together. I often say that being offline, suppose they developed a product in the industry, they may not be of real help to us, to be very frank with you, unless they are working with the academia 24/7 on campus with the faculty, with the student, nothing much will really happen. They need to understand what we need, rather than developing offline and simply selling a standard product.
So it's not an outsider's view that is important, but to be immersed in that particular educational ecosystem and then come out. That is where innovation happens, right? That's where innovation happens. And genuinely, most innovation has come from universities and educational institutes. I mean, we have a lot of historicity on that. Just continuing this part of what Dr. Singh emphasized in terms of, the the implications of reforms that happen in education, because it's a need of the hour. So we change the way we teach, we change the way we design our curriculum. We also change our model essentially. In our university, we are very excited about entrepreneurship. So we're looking at dimensions of technology intersecting with this whole entrepreneurial intelligence and mindset. And in that one quality, because you mentioned discipline, we have this whole focus on self-directed learning. We talk about pedagogy, andragogy. We're also talking about heutagogy, which is more self-focused. But in all these circumstances, when we look at a digital landscape, or if we talk about inclusivity coming as a very important factor, what are your thoughts? I'm going to ask Sanjeev and Tapish your thoughts on, is the future going to be more inclusive, or there will be a more divide because of access and accessibility? So you both can please share your views.
In terms of inclusivity, if you allow me, I would like to give a different perspective, not from the digital perspective. And it is required in the current scenario when sir is talking about entrepreneurship. We all are talking about practical knowledge. We are talking about skill development. A totally different philosophical scenario I'd like to put. When we talk about education, if you see, generally we divide a person only into two categories. Literate, which means a person who is capable of writing and reading, and educated. At least for educated person, there is no clear demarcation, but at least we consider someone as graduate. We are missing one more class, which is skilled. We should have three classification in the hierarchy of educational ladder: literate, skilled, and educated. Why I am saying this? These are the skilled people who have the practical knowledge, but not so-called degrees with them. How we are ready to include them in our society with the same respect which we have for an educated person. I would like to give a simple example. A person who has spent 10 or 13 years of learning a traditional sweet making from his father, that person will not be called an educated person, but a student who has passed from hotel management course cannot make a better even sugar syrup. They have a better societal acceptance. I would like to highlight this point on the inclusivity. Let's bring a skilled person as equivalent to educated, because we are, as an industry also, we are looking for fresh graduate, but we see that they don't have practical experience and we have to train them. We all are sitting here, are top of your educationist. How we can bridge this? Can the practical knowledge be equivalent to a degree? A person who has spent 13 or 14, 15 years in making sweets, he has already done PhD in making sweets. Why he or she needs to have an official degree? Why degree cannot be imparted? So that's inclusivity, not digital gap. I wanted to bring here.
Absolutely. So I think when we talk about inclusivity, is all pervasive, and in this context, I think our recognition of prior learning, which is a recent development.
If you look at the National Credit Framework, it gives you equivalence to your prior learning or earning through some different mode. For example, skills learning or experiential learning. There's a framework which has evolved now. So for example, if somebody passed class 10th and instead of going to 11th and 12th class, went to work and work for 4 or 5 years in a family business or with father's business or anywhere else. After a few years, if he is able to gain experience which can be termed equivalent to 10+2, can be taken to graduation. This is already happening. The second thing which is happening, which you pointed out, see, earlier skills were seen in different context. If you look at when this revolution of NSDC came, which largely remains a failed mission, apologies if somebody is involved in this, because little happened on ground. Knowing is not equal to doing. We need to understand this. So what happened was that the skills which are meant for 8th and 9th class, or maybe 10th and 11th class, were pegged at university students. It didn't serve the purpose. while it clocked certain number of hours and number of sessions conducted for skills, certain amount of money was spent, it didn't serve the purpose, because at university level, you need commensurate level of skills. So now the education continuum has been defined in terms of levels, from nursery class to PhD. So let's say first 3 years being 0.1, class 5 is 1, 8th is 2, 10th is 3, 12th is 4. So they come after level 4 to us. When you give recognition to prior learning, we need to assess whether it's at the same level, level 4 or above. Then only we can move them laterally. So earlier the concept was, if you get into skill stream, you remain there. Let's say polytechnic or ITI kind of things. But now the government says no more. Let them move laterally from unskilled to semi-skilled, from semi-skilled to skilled, and then move forward in the regular education stream. The third thing I would like to mention in this case is that skills is not same as education. We must emphasize on skills, but not at the cost of education, because skills are for a time limit, they have a shelf life. Education is for whole life. Both cannot be compromised. We need both of them. And therefore, it brings me to another issue. See, all of us have been in this field for many, many years and decades. Does the body of knowledge remain the same? So much of research is happening, and every day we find some addition to body of knowledge. And the old concepts are not going away. So it means we need to learn more amount of things in lesser time. Now there's a pressure to finish things quickly. Industry says we don't have to waste 3, 4, 5 years. We can take them if they have the skills, and we can put them on a particular trajectory of career. And therefore the need is to learn more in less time. And that's where the role of technology comes in, or role of digital learning comes in, because you are basically able to leverage the free time of students which you don't have in the classroom or in the university or the campus setup. They can do it at any time. So you don't have to spend time in the campus teaching them theory. So that can be learned by students on their own from different sources, as was pointed out, from best of the professors all over the world. What I think campuses need to do is to focus on practical lab work, experimentation, which cannot be done by students perhaps online. You need that kind of setup. And then when I said that knowing is not equal to doing, once you learn, you see through research, it should be implemented on ground. And that's where I meant the field-based kind of learning has to be emphasized now.
But just sensing that is a deficit is also interesting, because that's exactly what is also progressing. So, there's a connection between what should be done with skills and education being combined together. Tapish, to continue this question, when we talk about inclusivity or providing an equitable environment, and because your company has a digital specific interface, we're talking about definitely the students who get more access, but we're also talking about creators of knowledge. So if you look at Coursera, typically you have certain type of institutes are only giving the best quality programs. How do you create a more extended community of knowledge creators in the platform?
Okay, so I'll answer the first part first. When I look at Coursera today, 60% of our learners in India learn on mobile. And India has the lowest mobile data rates anywhere in the world, right? So anybody, anywhere in India can easily access courses on Coursera. They can come onto Coursera and, kind of learn anything. Most of the learning on Coursera is free. You only pay if you end up taking a certificate or something like that. So that's one way in which we are contributing towards making it more inclusive. The second is, with the government coming in with the right to education and also allowing progressive universities like yours to stack in content from the best universities, that's another step towards inclusivity, right? People might be anywhere in the country, but they can learn from anywhere and also get it counted for credit. So there has been a strong government push towards equity and inclusion as well. How can Coursera contribute towards widening the base of our teachers on Coursera? That is something that we are working on, but that's a very slow and steady process for us, because we want to make sure that anything that goes onto Coursera, because it's global by nature, right? We do not want to make it absolutely open. We want to have certain quality checks so that, any other university, if they take that course, they're completely assured of the quality of that. Whether it is learners anywhere around the world, they're absolutely assured that whatever is being taught is absolutely correct. So it's going to be a slow and steady process. I think we started with some 10 founder universities back in 2012, and by now we have about 200 universities in the world that are creating that content. In addition, we also have industry partners. So we started with top industry partners like Google and Meta, who started creating courses. As of right now, we also have smaller industry partners who are creating courses in specific domains. So for example, if I talk about India, Tally has a bookkeeping certificate that's specific for that particular region. Right, so we are also increasing that base, but that will be a gradual process.
All right, thank you for that. In fact, Dr. Vandana, if you recall, just before the panel, we were having a conversation on how, so you represent the Ministry of Science and Technology, and you mentioned that how the performance of the person who is taking up a project is very encouraging to reinforce, the whole, granting of funding and proposals. My question to you is connected with what we were discussing, from a skill perspective. And if you look at scientific skills and scientific temperament and the mindset of children, because of easy access to knowledge, so we are inferring before we are experimenting. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the earlier Dr. Raj also said this thing that we are moving from chalkboard to in between the green board and then finally whiteboard, and now e-learning and mobile learning. So definitely, and then as you were also saying about a person which is literate, illiterate, and one who is skilled. And he rightly mentioned that skill is one aspect if it has a smaller shelf life. So what is exactly required for technology to do is enhance the shelf life of that skill, specialization. If the technology can provide that specialized needs, fulfill the specialized needs of a skilled manforce, I believe in primary and secondary we can still go with hand in complement the traditional practices of teaching and then the modern practices of teaching, because as you all were discussing about the cerebral capacity, so in primary education we need to build on that cerebral capacity instead of those viewing and fast education capacity. So, but the digital technology will play more role when we come to tertiary education. Because in tertiary education you should be, you have more of a interactions and more immersive experience, more practical experience that is required in tertiary education. So I completely believe that digitalization is more important in tertiary education and in job, with people looking for job and people looking for solving problems. Like if we have hackathons earlier, so why can't we have hackathons of micro and small industry clusters? So can the student with the digital knowledge solve their problems? Can they put across their problems, and the students in tertiary education system can solve those problems through having the experiential learning of what they are facing. So I believe the technology is more important when we are talking about the higher education system. Of course, accessibility is one thing. When you're talking about inclusivity, yes, technology has a very important role to play in inclusive education in terms of people who have less accessibility to schools in the country like India, and inclusive education for the children who have their own specific needs. Like there are technologies which can turn speech to,
Absolutely, yeah.
So
assistive technologies are there.
Specific technology for people with specific needs. That's where technology will solve the problem of literacy in the country and inclusivity, because NEP talks majorly about inclusivity. And in primary education, that's where the technology needs to play a very important role for inclusivity and addressing the needs of special and those special needs. But for tertiary education, technology can play a major role in addressing the gap of skill manforce.
Interesting. And you also said something very interesting, which was how do we increase the shelf life of a skill by using technology is, I think, food for thought, because that really helps us to look at a different perspective. In fact, when you talk about primary, secondary, tertiary education and the whole aspect of skill set, a lot of transformations are happening, and we are trying to connect what we do today, what we design today, with the jobs of the future. And when we talk about the jobs of the future, there are many areas like gig economy, for instance, which we feel is going to become kind of very natural, very organic thing after 3-4 years. for that, when we talk about developing an intrapreneurial or entrepreneurial mindset within the students is very important. But Deenu, would like to hear your thoughts on the future of work connecting with education future.
Of course, thank you. So I'll tell you, 2 years back, something happened which changed the entire world. 2 years back, ChatGPT was released and it changed a lot of sectors. It changed how we do the education, how we study, how do we write the code, how do we make the applications. And it is, since then, it was growing very rapidly at the exponential rate. So first we started with the text only. Okay, we can ask with a simple text, with a conversation. Then we started text to image. With a simple text, we could have created a lot of graphics. And then we moved on to the videos. With a simple text, we could now create a lot of videos with just a simple text, and from the images as well. And from the other aspects also, at the initial stage with the ChatGPT or other LLM tools, we could have write a single program. But today, we can create the entire application, the full stack application, with the help of these AI tools. So with this growing period of the technology in the rapid rate, we need to keep it up. We need to learn more. And at this point, as Dr. Raj was saying, in the less time, we need to study more. We need to know more. How do we do that? With the help of AI, with the help of technology. For example, I'll give you an example. Earlier, to build an entire application, it takes around 3 to 4 months or 6 months with a team of 15 to 20 people. But today, a single person or a team of 2-3 people can sit for 3-4 days and build the entire application, and they can deploy it in no time. So when the technology is growing at this rate, we have to keep it up. We have to keep up with this, and technology only can help in this way.
Interesting. Right? Yeah, in fact, like you said, ChatGPT kind of created a big tsunami, and I think everybody interestingly happened. So we're almost towards the end of our panel, but before we wind up, we talk about future education skills, we talk about literacy for the future, we talk about fluency, and we talk about dexterity. And why I'm saying this, because somewhere there is this impression, because we talk about digital natives having a certain better understanding of technology, but a lot of research says that's not true. They might be more aware of technology, but the intelligent usage is something which is not very correct, so they'll need the mentoring and the guidance of the adults. So we'll close on a final round of quick points coming from everybody. I'll want you to be a little personal right now and tell that give me 2 words which you think about when you think about the future. 2 words, could be great, could be speculative, but 2 words which immediately come to your mind when you think about the future. Who would like to go first? And yes, Tapish.
I can say equality of opportunity.
Equality of opportunities, okay. Who's next?
Okay, I'll go next. I would say you need to use technology in more ethical way, because this is going out of hand. Use it ethically.
A future where we have equality of opportunities, a future where we'll use technology more ethically.
So, degrees with expiry dates.
Sorry?
Degrees with expiry dates.
Degrees with expiry dates, okay.
There is one old line, survival of the fittest, but in the future it would be the survival of the fastest. The fastest to adapt, they will survive.
Survival of the fastest. Very, very profound pointers coming here. Dr. Vandana.
So I'll say that we should not miss the love for knowledge. So
love for knowledge. Beautiful. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we turn the chapters into a new era where blackboards have transformed into different spaces, digital and non-digital, our deliberations that we are having shall really help us in creating an impactful future, because beyond the blackboard, beyond the boundaries of the classroom, there is a future which is more exciting, more fulfilling, more energetic, and more transformative. Dr. Vandana, Deenu, Tapish, Sanjeev, Dr. Singh, thank you so much for your insightful views. May I request a huge round of applause for the members of the panel.
thank you.
Do we have some question answers if there are?
We actually do have 5 minutes, so in case anybody has questions, yes,
Perfect.
we should do that. We have one hand up already. Can we have a cordless mic passed around, please? among the
So I
audience.
request you to tell us who this question is addressed to so that we could... I'm sure you'll be happy with our timing of... Yes.
Let me compliment for such an enriching discussion. There are two things I would like to quickly bring here. When we are talking of beyond Blackboard, to me, it looks more like shift from teaching to learning. If you look at our Vedic philosophy of education, it says that learning happens in 4 ways. It starts with the teacher in the classroom, but it immediately built on self-learning and further multiplies with the peer discussion. And finally, it ends with application. So it has 4 components. We had somehow confined it to and made it limited to classroom only, which was more centered to teaching. That shift we are seeing. Whatever we are looking from the technology point of view, it is increasing the accessibility. Now the time is collapsing. So you need not have a limited time to interact with your teacher. You can interact online or through digital media. Also, you don't have to go to library or limited scripts to access it. You can have it at any place at any time. Now, the question I am putting, it is more to Mr. Sanjeev and Madam Vandana, that on one hand we see that people are going to natural spaces. Somebody is studying how the ant build their residential spaces, how the nature multiplies, and that is way we are trying to build innovation. On the other hand, we are seeing that everything has to be on a screen. I see a conflict. Would you address it? Thank you.
The question is that on one hand, we are trying to reach out to natural spaces and have that experience which is outside of the classroom. On the other hand, we also have this device usage, which is a constant, which is, so you're saying it's a conflict between these two things.
Yeah, so that's why I said one has to have love for knowledge and passion for knowledge, because then you will not be limited to device. If your purpose for device is to gain knowledge, then definitely the person will look outside the device also to gain knowledge, because knowledge is more open. So the final thing is you still need to have love for getting some knowledge and information. And then you will not limit yourself to devices only.
Yeah, to add to that point only, I'll convert that knowledge to information. In today's world, access to information is fastest and cheapest than any other time. Now, important is what we do with those information. How critically we analyze those information. How creatively we use it for solving our problem. So, a screen is for me to access information as quick as possible, then apply those information and knowledge in solving our personal problem. Even by looking at how ants are building their houses, can I learn how I can build my house stronger, which is earthquake resistant? So access to information, which earlier used to take lots of time, going to libraries, searching through the literature, going through the index, now it has become within 5 minutes. So our efficiency has increased. Can we translate that efficiency in problem solving? That is how these two can go in parallel.
Sure, sir. One more question very quickly, please. Yes, sir. And as the mic goes there and he asks a question, let me just add to this point. I think mindfulness is very important. Don't take a device when you go to the beach and vice versa.
Very good morning. My question is, beyond the Blackboard, if we say, we feel that no industry do have a hand-holding role. Since ma'am, Dr. Vandana Kalia, you are from DSIR, how welcoming that you feel the interaction between academy and industry? And my question to Sanjeev Kumar is, how welcoming is the academy on that? And to Dr. Rajnath Singh, how welcoming is the industry with those aspects?
So I think the question is for all of you to tell how welcoming we all are towards each other. So let's start with Dr. Vandana. From ministry to education, and Deenu from industry to education. Very quickly, everybody.
He's from industry and they both are from industry. Yeah, they can answer better, but what we have experienced is industry is still cryptic about collaboration. They are not cryptic about hiring people from academia, but they are still cryptic about the collaboration. And the only reason is they feel a gap in their timelines and the timelines of academia. So the timelines is what make them cryptic. So in short, I'll say that.
Thank you so much, Deenu, very quickly.
I would say the clients are more worried about the privacy. We have a lot of tools which we can use, but we cannot use them just like that. Because if I am using ChatGPT or any other LLM, I cannot just use it blindly because the client data, I have to put it into the LLM. That I cannot do without the permission of the client, and there are a lot of restrictions. So it is we can use it, but with a lot of restrictions and with a lot of clause and all those things.
So the intent is not the barrier; it's the sort of the transactional
use
challenges
it with
that you have.
A lot of cautions.
Sure.
I think I can say this not from Coursera. Coursera, of course, we work with a lot of industry and universities that work together. But in my previous role, I was at IIM Ahmedabad, part of their incubator. So what I would say is, there was a definite push from the government to increase industry-academia collaboration, which we were able to do because a lot of industries came to us to help seed those ideas so that they could eventually see if something is working that they could co-opt into their own research or their own business, right? So that's constantly happening. The scale of it is still smaller compared to what you would like it to be. But, having these STPIs and incubators set up across the country, that is the first step in that direction. Over a period of time, as quality improves on both sides, it will end up being better.
Mr. Harish has raised a very nice question. And I have been part of many panels where industry-academia interaction, how we can improve. Based on all the interaction, we don't have time. I can only say that we both have to come, sit together, but not as a representative of academia or industry, but a problem solver. If we think through, there are lots of gaps. I agree that, and there are lots of limitations the way we are looking into the problem. My request would be really, we both have to come together, sit on a table, but not as a representative of industry and academia, but a thought leader to solve this problem. But there's a problem, but there is also acceptance. We are looking for it.
Thank you. Last words from Dr. Raj Singh.
See, there's no denying about that the three parties have to come together and sit down to find solutions. I would put it a different way. Whatever research we do, supported by DSIR and other agencies, we come up with ideas, framework, solutions. What we want from industry is that we need an opportunity to those concepts to be tested for problem solving. And second thing we want from them, we don't want money from industry, to be very frank with you. We want problem statements. We want how our students can sit down and work on those statements and issues to find solutions. This kind of collaboration, I think, will enrich the learning, and we'll move from theory to skills and to practice.
So I think good heads to solve great problems of the future. Thank you so much once again.
Sorry.
Yes, sure.
Just in a lighter note, what Sir
please,
said,
please.
how I used my mobile to enjoy yesterday's program, which was cultural program, and gain my knowledge. There were many students or artists who performed different traditional and classical dance from different states. I didn't know everyone. I just took the picture, put in the Google. I came to know it is
which form of dance is it?
Kathakali, it was Mohiniyattam, it was Odissi. This is the way I enjoyed the program and gained my knowledge with my mobile.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
What a great roundup for an invigorating discussion indeed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that conversation. So many diverse perspectives, and one point that became apparent is that it's a long way of collaboration lying ahead, and we do have problems to solve, but we do definitely have sight of solutions as well. And on that note, I'd like to bring on stage our respected Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor J. Lata, to present our tokens of appreciation to all of the speakers on stage, starting with Dr. Vandana Kalia. We just listened to a fascinating conversation with so many different perspectives. I think we owe it to them with a loud round of applause as these mementos are being presented. Dr. Vandana Kalia from Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. She's the Director of Industrial Research and Development Program. So proud to have you here, ma'am. Mr. Deenu Khan, he is a machine learning engineer with Accenture. Mr. Tapish M. Bhatt, Head of Asia Pacific Partnerships with Coursera, where he leads content and go-to-market partnerships. Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Sharma, Senior Group Leader for Research and Development. Professor Raj Singh, our own Vice Chancellor of Jain University. And finally, our moderator who held the conversation together with such amazing questions, Dr. Shradha Kanwar, Chief Academic Officer of Jain University. We request you to stay for a moment and all of you to please step up to have that group photo taken with our Pro Vice Chancellor. This is a moment we want to capture in memory of this invigorating session that you just led for us on the stage, kickstarting the Future Education Summit with such gusto. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, let's hear it louder. Thank you. Thank you once again.